Welcome everybody to Citizen Sleeper. So before we get started, what is Citizen Sleeper? It's a game published by Fellow Traveller and developed by Jump Over the Age, and it is a narrative-driven story game with lots of text, which I'll be reading for you. It focuses on a central protagonist called a frame, who is the digitized mind of a human who signed themselves away to work for a large corporation and inhabit a robot body. So the central theme of transhumanism, what it means to be human, free will, artificial intelligence, all of that stuff is kind of covered visually and auditorily. It's I want to use the term CyberNoir, kind of like film noir, kind of like cyberpunk, but less punky. It's got quite a downbeat mood to it, with a central thread of hope and triumph overcoming kind of sadness, tragedy and loss, finding a way through difficulty and forging a new path for yourself. There are 3 character classes available: the machinist, the operator, and the extractor. I think for this one I'm going to go with the operator. It's kind of cool. Everyone's kind of gender neutral. It's hard to tell whether or not you're male or female because you're very synthetic there. This one's got kind of feminine cast to it, which I think will contrast quite nicely with my voice and how my voice sounds and that kind of thing as I navigate this. So let's start the game. The way the game works is that you roll a series of dice each morning, and then you take those dice and you put them into different activities and things that either get you money or get you resources or advance the story somehow, or maybe protect you from harm, that kind of thing. You also get money and you get data and you get all these other kinds of things. The choices that you make as you speak to different characters kind of govern the direction that the game goes in, but principally it's the dice rolls, and as the tutorials pop up for that, I'll kind of give a grassroots on the ground explanation of that. So without further ado, here we go. Unknown, where are you? The first thing you become aware of on waking is the disconnect, the delay between thinking and feeling, between wanting to act and acting. Minor, almost imperceptible, but always present. It's at its worst when waking, when yourself has spent many dark hours recalling what it felt like to be real, to be a person, to be in a body that was indisputably yours. And we have 2 choices here, okay? So we can think of that body, or we can forget that body. And the game derives a little bit of context from the choices that you make. It kind of tries to decide like how you're handling the situation as the character. So I'm going to go with forget that body. You resist nostalgia. It is pointless, especially now. This is the moment to reach out, not curl inwards. This is your moment of escape, even if it feels immediately like you traded one prison for another, smaller, colder, lifeless. Reach out. You almost laugh, or you would if there was room, or even air, to do so. The walls of the container are immediately present, cold, hard at your back and face, cramping your limbs. You resist the desire to stretch, knowing that the claustrophobia comes next, and retreat a little from your central nervous system. It isn't painful, not like you used to know pain at least. In emergency mode, pain is a message delivered with efficiency and ease, a reminder that harm is imminent. There is no insistent throb, no trembling nerves, just a warning delivered with the banal quality of a digital notification. Right now there are thousands of them. I've got the option here to either remember the plan or remember the others. I think I will go with remember the plan. You mostly remember that it wasn't a good plan, but then your options were limited. And once you got the itch to get out by any means possible, it was either that plan or something much worse. It was at least simple. Collapse the shaft, drift away in the chaos, slip into cargo processing, seal yourselves into containers, and then just hope the freighter left before you were missed. Some were lost in the shaft, others never found the meeting point. Only a few made it to the containers, but the freighter, as far as you know, left. That feels like enough. Enough to know that you might no longer be on that grim and heartless rock, even if, in the airless hold of a freighter, you might freeze solid long before you reached any destination. Now we can wait for the cold here, or we can try to rest. I think I'm going to wait for the cold. That's all there is now. It's been a long time since you left. Surely weeks, maybe months. You are dully aware of damage to your legs, your right arm. You've been reserving energy as much as possible, but your body has still needed to shut down many of its systems to protect you. You have spent much of that time asleep, knowing that anything else would be impossible to endure. You feel the weight of that impossibility begin to gather. It is time to sleep again, to nudge this false body into inducing delta waves in your emulated mind, and once again recoil into a dream of when you were once a person. And now we have one option, which is to rest. Time passes. The cold creeps further in. You feel something. Warmth. Not true warmth, but the indication of its presence. Your joints release from their rigour. Sound, too, everywhere, screeching and shimmering so loud that your body ducks your hearing to protect its senses. Then light, white as the cold, softer and softer, until, in a haze of dirty yellow, a figure appears. You are out. Okay, so here is where we're going to be jumping out into the main game, the kind of tutorial section. The game is set on a space station, and you interact with people that live on the space station and try and kind of do jobs and talk to people and understand like what's going on with them. A lot of the people are quite cagey, and the space station is represented visually really nicely. It's a giant ring, like a spoked wheel, and you start on the outer edge, or the inner edge, I should say, of the ring of the wheel. Here we go. There you go, look. And I can scroll up and scroll down, look around the section that I'm in. For now I have one choice of where I can go to, which is Dragos's place. Dragos is a pragmatic salvager. Here he is with his visor. He's got his cool drone on his shoulder there, a bottle of water, a little backpack with like a radio and some devices on. So it's been a few hours since Dragos pulled you from the container. You sit huddled in a corner of his scrapyard, swaddled in reflective folds of a mylar blanket. You are slowly coming back to consciousness, back to life, and you stare at the ornately curving element of an improvised heater. You're surrounded by angular, incoherent lumps of ships, some corroded beyond recognition, others still carrying glassy wounds along their edges where a plasma arc sliced them apart. As you trace their shapes with fogged eyes, you hear a voice. "So, Sleeper, you all thawed yet?" I think we're going to stay silent. "Never seen one of you come in like this. New frames must have better perseverance in sub-zero vac. Seen more than a few of you frozen solid to hull plates or inside outer locks in my time. They weren't so lucky. So like I said at the beginning, a frame is me. I am a frame, kind of genderless robot with a human mind inhabiting it." Dragos comes into focus, shrouded in makeshift tech, his headset with its glinting eyes the mark of a drone operator. On his shoulder, one of his symbiotically linked drones perches, its irising eye locking you with an unflinching stare. There it is, look, little drone. "Last living sleeper that came through this yard was a while ago. They didn't last long." You struggle to read his expression beneath the tech, but he seems lost in memory for a moment, or perhaps he's just figuring out what to do with you. And we've got three choices here. I plan to survive, what happened to them, or stay silent. I think I'm going to stay silent. I won't ask what led you to it, to sell yourself to a corporation. And I suppose you know you can't go back. Your old body, that's theirs now, and you're just software. A rogue emulation illegally possessing corporate property. You nod along. You remember biometrically signing the forms, the cold floor on your feet as you padded to the sleeper cells, the promise of a life off-world. But as you do, you get the now familiar sensation that these aren't your memories. These are things you know, but not things you feel. You're no longer that person. You're an offshoot, a copy. What you won't know is what's ahead. At least the last one didn't. There's no easier way to put it. That body of yours is falling apart. It's the same for any sleeper who makes it out. S&ARP wants to protect their property. But if they can't keep hold of you, well, then no one can. So S&ARP is kind of the company that own you, essentially. You remember that... Excuse me. You remember that too, or at least rumours of it from the other sleepers. Planned obsolescence, a built-in dependence on the regularly administered supplements that were part of your routine. Stop taking them and your body begins to shut down, separate from your emulated mind. How long has it been? How long do you have? But for now, sleeper, you're one of the lucky ones. Dragos glances up and away, towards the glassy dome of the yard. The eye is the best place you could be right now. Let's ask about the eye. The station. You'll see soon enough. Dragos impatiently shifts his weight. Look, I've got things to be getting on with. He trails off. There's an old freight container I've been using as a storage out in the stacks. We haven't been pulling in much valuable scrap these days, so you're welcome to it. Something wells up inside of you. Emotion, fatigue. You shakily get to your feet. And nod. Alright, you head on up there. You look like you need some rest. And with that, Dragos stalks back into the wrecks, his drones already converging on a rusting hulk, plasma flashes silhouetting his spindly figure as he returns to work. So here's the tutorial. It says, welcome to Erlin's Eye. Life on the Eye runs in cycles, during which you can talk to characters, explore areas of the station, and perform actions. At the end of each cycle, you need to head to your current home to rest. Resting will move time forward on the station. Head to the empty container location to rest and end the cycle now. So we're going to do that. Here's our empty container, your home for now, it says. And down here you've got stuff like items, data, which we don't have picked up yet, and cryo is the money, of which we have 0. So we can leave the container. There's a bunch of information here about how things are going to go. All cycles need to end. Rest and prepare for the next one. So let's end this cycle. Now when we wake up, we'll have some dice to play with. And dice kind of represent your energy levels during the day. Container, 4 steel walls. You wake up curled up in the corner of the container and begin slowly assembling the world around you. After all this time, you still find this body, the one you wake in now, strange and disjointed. Its message is readable, but somehow wrong. You sit up, pulling the mylar blanket close against the cold. Here you are on this ruined station, millions of miles from anyone you know. Are you still in the system? Did any of the others make it out? It's impossible to know. After all this, what matters? So, does my character value escaping, getting answers, or building a life? I'm going to go with building a life. Maybe you did get lucky finding yourself here. Maybe here, on the edge of everything, there's a life for you to build. But before you can build anything, you'll need to learn to survive. Maybe if you can do that, you can make a life for yourself. Dragos has left a few comforts in the container. The mylar blanket, the bedroll you slept on, a canister of water, a makeshift electric stove, and some faded sachets of some desiccated powder. You thumb the power stud of the stove and begin to boil the water. The contents of the sachets smell like damp wood, and you sprinkle them into the liquid. As the pungent smell washes over you, images from your restless sleep come back to you. A ring like the station, but skeletal and ghostly. A web of threads pulling at your skin. A constellation of bright polygonal shapes, like angular suns, burning into your mind. There's something unpleasantly visceral about these images, and it is long after you've finished drinking before they begin to fade. You tidy away the stove as best you can, and try to gather enough energy to greet the day. Okay, so here's a tutorial about how the dice works. I'm going to summarise this because it's very wordy. Essentially, you've got your physical condition in this bar on the top here. You've got these dice which represent kind of actions you can take and your energy levels and stuff like that. And then you've got this, which is like a hunger bar. And you need to eat to replenish that each day. That hunger bar then kind of dictates how many dice you're going to get the next day. So if it's full, you'll get 5. If it's only on 4, you'll get 4, etc., etc. So it always pays to stay topped up. That's essentially it. I feel like reading all of that would not have really helped explain it. The best thing I can do is demonstrate. So let's leave the container. Here's Dragos. Dragos is standing in the corridor when you close up the container. He's still wearing his headset, and in the harsh light of the corridor you realise it's implanted. A drone sits on his shoulder, its cache of sensor eyes rapidly irising. How are you feeling? Let's go with not good. The drone chirps. Dragos nods. You notice that beneath the operator's rig his skin is marked by burns and blotches. I know the container isn't much, but it'll keep you safe. He pauses. So I'm not going to chit-chat too long. You well enough to work? Work? Yeah, let's say sure. All right then, he nods. At the yard it's simple stuff. We hack these old hulls down, sell them off to the shipyards or the bright market dealers for cryo. Occasionally we pull out some tech, something with a bit more value, but most of what comes in is scrap. It's hard to find good hands here, but I figure as a sleeper you'll be used to the manual labour, and obviously I'll slip you a few chits of commission based on what you turn up. Chits is money, so I don't really need to question him on that. He shuffles his feet nervously. Look, I wouldn't usually do this. In my opinion, you'd be best suited to moving on as quick as you can. And sleepers, well, he trails off. But things being the way that they are for me at the yard, he pauses, I need the help. Let's ask him why. Things are a little tight, that's all. I owe a little cryo to a client here or there. He pauses, thinking of something else to add. Look, just come down to the yard when you're feeling fresher. There's plenty to do. Will do. He nods distractedly and turns and walks away, the drone hopping along ahead of him. See you later, he calls back. Looks like it's time to get to work. So it's going to give us a bunch of jobs to do here. If we go to the actual yard, Dragos' decaying scrapyard. This tutorial, I feel like I can demonstrate it better myself, so I'm just going to skip past these. Now the way this works is I can assign dice to one of these two things, manual salvage or hull dissection. I've got a high dice here with a 5, and I've got a couple of low dice. I don't have any bonuses to this one, but I have a minus to this one, so I'll probably go for this one. Let's stick the 5 in first. Now I've got a 50% chance of getting a positive outcome, a 50% chance of getting a neutral outcome. Neutral is actually success, and then if I had lower numbers, in fact, if I pop that back, I had lower numbers, I'd have like a negative outcome, and that can hurt me. So this one is saying risky, so there is some risk of being harmed if I fail it. So let's start action here. We've got some pretty low dice rolls here, which is unfortunate. Okay, tutorial clocks. Each action very often has this sort of separate thing, like a clock attached to it, and as you go through the days it'll advance forward, and then something will happen, like a ship will show up, or someone will get cross with you, or someone will be happy with you, or they'll be working on something for you like research, and then you can collect that kind of thing. So they'll just, that's kind of an overview of that. So here we have hull dissection. Beneath the pockmarked hulls you find hidden containers, alloy plating and wire bundles thick as your arm, preserved in their trunking. And then manual salvage. It's going to take some time to sort and cut your way through the towers of the salvage, but you're no stranger to hard labour. So these two jobs are basically the kinds of things you'd be doing in a shipyard, right? And then this here, back in business. Every salvager knows they're always just one lucky haul away from the next payday. So by doing these jobs, I advance this counter, and when I get it to the top, I help Dragos out. This thing, a debt called in. Dragos is tied up in something ugly, and if he misses a payment or two, things could get nasty. So this will advance across each cycle, each day. And if it reaches the top before I've done the yellow, I'll kind of fail, basically, and something will happen in the story. Now, I don't want to do another hull dissection with these really low rolls, so let's leave. Let's have a look around. So drives and navigation. So drives are like quests, I suppose, and you'll see them in the top left corner. And then navigation is just how to get around. I just use my mouse. So we need to look for, we need to follow the drives or the quests to advance the story. We need to look for food to get our energy up and recover our condition. And then we fill the clocks to progress the stories. All of this will become more apparent as I play through it. That's just a little bit of information about how to navigate there. So let's go to Bright Market. This is all stuff waiting for ships to come in. So as the cycle clock goes round, a ship will come in and I can do a job. So I can't do anything on these yet. The Helion crossing is like a ship coming in, and then this is some kind of jobs you can do on the docks. You can explore the rotunda, and you can steal dock plans. We'll come back to that later when we're actually going to do it. But right now, let's go to the market. So we've got a critical action here. Ask for directions. Why wander when there are hundreds of people that live and work within the Bright Market? All you need is the courage to approach them. Explore the market. The smells, sounds, and buzzing activity of the Bright Market make it a dizzying place to wander, but an enticing one too. So both of these will contribute towards local knowledge. I think this fast forward thing gives me more clock, gives me more on this counter, and this one gives me less, but it's not as dangerous. So the Bright Market is the busiest part of the eye's lower rim. You can find anything and everything here. So let's pop a dice in this one. We've got a 50% chance of succeeding and a 50% chance of something bad happening. Negative outcome. Oh, great. Well, you can see we lost some energy there. So negative outcome. Great. I used up all my energy. And then let's try this one. Okay, so we had a positive outcome there. We filled up one of the local knowledge counters, and then when we've done that, we'll open up more areas in the market. But we are now starving, which is not fantastic. But by doing a bit of local knowledge, we found the Slum Doctor. Now here are my quests, up in the top left here. I've got no completed drives. I'm going to start calling them drives instead of quests, so drives. There's repaying Dragos, so I can track that if I want to. Or there's surviving, I can track that if I want to. And that'll kind of direct me to different places. Let's go and talk to the Sabine. Next comes the call from the enforcer at the door. This is the Hab block, habitation. It's kind of a block of flats here with the street outside. Decaying habitation block. You shuffle down the flickering hallway towards the open apartment door. You keep your head down and your shoulders high in the queue, trying not to bring attention to yourself. You were thankful for the tip-off that a doctor was operating out of this place, but now that you are here you aren't so sure. The gang enforcer on the door, the flickering light strips, the decaying habitation block, they've all made the long queue a test of your nerve. But your options are few, and without a supply of stabilizer, this body, your body, will... You suppress a shiver and shuffle forward to the front of the queue. You try to find something to distract yourself. You can look inside or look at the enforcer. I think we'll look at the enforcer. The enforcer is looking down the corridor and you dare to glance at him. His purpose is unmistakable. He's there to intimidate, to threaten, and if necessary, carry out those threats. His broad shoulders are framed with a metal exoskeleton. A couple of mirror-like implants sit below his eyes like mercury teardrops, subsidiary sense input or aesthetic markers, you aren't sure. You also aren't familiar with the geometric blade-like tattoo on his arm, but you make a note of it. You avert your eyes when he looks back at the queue. After a few moments, a figure pushes through the doorway, and you catch a distant voice. "Send the next one in, Toshiro." The enforcer jerks his head and you slip inside, passing through the dark entryway and pushing through the plastic sheeting on the far door. The room beyond is bathed in warm light. A floor-to-ceiling transparent panel gives a full view of the Bright Market's sealed roof and the buzzing traffic above, and, for a moment, you're transfixed by the motion. "Come, sit," calls a sharp voice, and you see a silhouetted figure turned away, replacing the plastic sheeting over the frame of a simple folding bed. You make your way across the room. So here we have Sabine. She's wearing a translucent poncho. Appears to be gender neutral, some kind. Very sort of feminine presenting, in my opinion, but I think they are represented as a they, so we'll be referring to them as a they. A doctor in the bright market. Here we go. The figure turns, and as they do, you see an expression of confusion flash across their features. They open their mouth as if to speak. They blink, and then quickly regain their composure. "Please sit." They gesture to the bed, then turn to an open case of tools on the table. You sit. Sabine turns, a compact diagnostic scanner of some kind in their hand. They hold it to their eye. "Remain still, please." Their tone is clipped and businesslike. You stare ahead, still dazed from their expression when you first entered. Fear, recognition, sadness, unmistakably etched across their face. "How long have you been on the station?" they ask, a scanner still to their eye. "I've got a few cycles," or just don't answer. I think I'm going to just not answer. They lower the scanner and meet your eye. "You can talk." They glance towards the doorway. "I know the conditions aren't ideal, but I need you to be honest with me." They make some adjustments to the scanner. "Or you can leave." They set the diagnostic scanner on the table. "I'm going to start by assuming you don't know anything." They take your arm and roll up your sleeve, inspecting your synthetic skin. "Your body is dying." They say it without ceremony, without drama, but not without empathy. S&ARP doesn't like to see its proprietary technology let loose. To prevent bodies like yours, frames as they call them, from being stolen, repurposed, or in your case, escaping, they built in a process of so-called planned obsolescence. Frames decay rapidly when not regularly injected with stabilizer, one which S&ARP remains the sole producer of. They look up. Sound familiar? Yes, no, or how do you know this? Let's go with how do you know this? They shift in their seat. "You aren't the first sleeper I've encountered." You wait for more, but they go back to their inspection. They swap to your other arm, running some thin metal device over your skin. You feel your forearm tremble. "I'm sorry," Sabine says, and you're unsure if they mean for the cold touch of the metal or for everything else. Emulations like you, sleepers as most people know you, aren't classified as people in any of the surrogate systems. You have no rights, no status. They focus hard on the inspection of your arm, and S&ARP has no reason to release stabilizer into the market. Sabine looks up as if to apologize again, but they stop themselves. "I know little of this is of use to you." They turn away, disassembling the metal instrument and cleaning it. Silence fills the room as Sabine works, and then the silence gives way to tension. You stare at their back, willing them to say something. Anything. Sabine turns to face you. "I may be able to help," they sigh, and you see the darkness under their eyes, hear the fatigue in their voice. They gesture to the door. "You saw Toshiro outside?" You nod. "He works for my benefactor, Yatagan. They are influential in the low end. They give me this space to work, run the door, and take the profits. At the same time, I have to fix up their enforcers, tend to their implants, sew up their wounds." They look away. "But Yatagan has connections. Smugglers from the Starwood Belt, mercenaries working for the corporations on Ember. If they can source the stabilizer, maybe you'll have a better chance." Sabine sets down their slate, their notes complete. This is dangerous, and it'll be expensive, but I think we can do it. Why help me?" Sabine walks away to the window, their face dappled by the shadows of passing drones. "Let's just see if this works first. I'll let you know when I have a lead." You nod and leave, Sabine still staring out, unmoving. When you reach the lower level of the market, you look back up through the panels of the roof to see if you can see their face, but the room looks dark against the lights of the market. You duck your head and walk off into the crowd. Okay, so we've met the doctor and we've got the drive to survive. We've got some options here. So we wait 3 cycles basically, and Sabine should have some stabilizer for us, which is very useful. Okay, this is another area. I don't have any dice, so I can't do anything here. Now, I thought that there was a food place somewhere, but maybe I don't have enough money or something unlocked. There's nothing more that I can do here. Maybe I need to get more of this local knowledge before I can unlock it. So let's go to bed and see what the next day brings. I was very unlucky with my dice rolls. I had some very low ones, so I guess when you're starving you get 1 dice roll maybe. So let's end the cycle there. Very interesting. So we worked for Dragos on the first day, and then we woke up and we went and looked around the market, and then we spoke to Sabine the doctor. You see I'm fading now. Container, 4 steel walls. This time you don't wake up. Instead, the ghost of the station, that shifting skeletal ring, surrounds you. For a moment you are gone, absent from your own body, stretched out across a colourless void. Then the connections begin to establish themselves, threads tugging on the edge of your mind. These threads become vectors of exchange and then extensions as you feel your thoughts slipping away down them, dissolving into the millions of distributed nodes they connect to. You see the station. No. You feel the station, like a web of texture in a smooth black liquid. Now we can observe it, or we can touch it. I think we're going to touch it. You find a point in the station, and you connect to it, pulse through it, follow loops and paths under and around it. You touch more points than you have fingers, and then you try, in a moment of impulsiveness, to connect them. The flow passes through you so rapidly that you feel yourself being carried with it, splitting and separating, eddying and gathering. As you do, things occur to you, things that you can't possibly know. You reach out, try to grasp them, try to touch them too. You notice a tugging feeling pulling at you, insistently, as if it were a small child. Somehow it's pulling you in 2 directions at once. You look down. All of a sudden everything shuts off. You come back trembling into this unfamiliar body, both yours and not yours, all at once. You find yourself standing in the container, eyes now open to the dark steel walls. You feel a change within you, a shift. You close your eyes for a second, and you feel it waiting there, the station splayed out across your mind, a storm of connective nodes waiting to be explored. And then it's gone. Wow, okay. So I think we just found the station's internet. Oh, so we actually start with 3 dice. Oh, so the dice you get are actually governed by the top bar here. So we're currently starving, which is not great. So let's go to the market, see if we can discover some flipping food. I kind of want to save this one for helping Thingamabob, so let's do that. It's a 100% positive outcome by putting a 6 in there. Nice. So we've got lots of local knowledge, so let's leave. And yes, we've unlocked a food place. Oh, and we also unlocked a new quest, Build a Ship Mind. You've heard talk of a fabricator owned by the Ort Exchange, and with that and a few fragments you could build a ship mind core. Okay, cool. I'm going to stay on survive for now, and we'll go into this street food vendor, Emphis. He looks cool. His eyes look like Team Rocket. Emphis, an imposing street food vendor. Emphis is busy, his broad face uplit by the makeshift gas burner in front of him. With precise, delicate movements, he lays thick chunks of marinated fungus into a dented wok, his other hand idly tossing a metal bowl of sliced vegetables in some red fleck dressing. The smell is incredible. You watch as he fulfills a set of orders, heaping the fungus with the bright salad and depositing it in plastic trays. A stack of chits rattles in his apron pocket as customers file past the burner, handing over payment. Let's watch. Despite the queue, Memphis doesn't rush. He dresses each portion individually, squeezing precise slugs of liquid from an assortment of bottles into the bowl of torn leaves and bright slices before tossing them loosely together. Occasionally a waiting customer might mutter something about efficiency, but Memphis remains steady in his process. After a while the queue fades back into the crowd, and Memphis sets down his metal bowl and looks up across the burner to see you watching him. What accent should we go for? I'm going to try a Scottish one, I think. I can feel your eyes burning a hole in my bowl. Free sample? Let's nod. We're very hungry. He gestures neatly. Come over. The smell is almost unbearably strong as he cooks, the earthiness of the fungus laced with something so spicy the smoke makes your eyes water. The heat from the burner is like a bonfire, and your skin hardens in its glare. I know you sleepers, Memphis says while he cooks, his voice deep but clear. A hard life, a lot of stories. He glances up from beneath his cap with piercing eyes. I know. We have an option to tell him a story here. Okay. You begin to tell him about your journey to the eye, and he nods as he cooks, his eyes never leaving his work. You tell him of the confusion, the pain, but also the sense of possibility and its sudden arrival. You tell him of the cold and dark of the container and the endless cycles spent within it. Now it seems, you tell him, like some dream that you once had but never can forget. You tell him that the eye excites you and scares you, and you're unsure where to walk, where to look, or what to do. Eventually you tail off, running out of words. He places a plastic tray of steaming fungus in your hand. Next time we can talk some more, he smiles. But next time, you pay. He slams a heavy hand against a button on the burner's side and shuts it off. The roar of the flame and its impressive heat fades. Next time then, sleeper. He waves you away and begins to oil the wok. Before you turn back to the alley, you notice the geometric patterns of circular scars across his forearms, each surrounded with a constellation of glinting pin marks. You can just about see them on his forearm here. He's got a some kind of bandage thing on the other side, and lots of cooking stuff, like all on his backpack, which I think is kind of cool. And there's his wok. You walk away, and as you do, you take a bite of the rich, spicy, delicately sweet fungus. Your taste sensors light up like a fusion reactor. You'll be back. Cool. Okay, so we've eaten some food. That's good. I'm kind of tempted to go back for some more food, to be honest. Because I've got 15 cryo, so let's see if we can get some more. Order a fungus. Do I drag that over? Yeah. Okay, so drag the money. Emphasis spiced fungus is one of the few things potent enough to stimulate your limited taste sensors. It's incredible stuff. So I've got a little counter here. Fungus fan. Memphis doesn't trust his people easily, but he notices his regular customers in his own quiet way. So let's spend all our money and buy some more food. So we're fully fed now. And we've also got one little counter in the fungus fan thing, so that's kind of on the way. Let's track the drive, repay Dragos. And we'll go back up to Dragos's place. And we'll do some work here. So, pop that one in there. 4. So we've got a 25% positive, 50% neutral, and 25% negative. So basically it's 75-25, success or failure. Hull dissections. Here we go. Alright. So we've got 15 cryo for that. And the cycle clock has gone forward by 1 for a debt called in. And then the back in business is kind of totting up. So let's... how risky is that? That's just as risky as the 4, so let's try that again. Even if I get a neutral result, that's fine. Cool. So we've got more cryo. We've got 30 cryo. The back in business counter is halfway done. So I think we can get this done before the deck gets called in. We're now out of dice, so we've got no energy to do anything. If we have a look here, this has started to count along for a ship arriving, and so has this one. Let's go back to the container and end cycle. Okay, so in the container, we've got more of the kind of space station's internet stuff here. Again, the skeletal ring of the station fills your mind. It sparkles with glittering lights, like stars reflected in a winter lake. It is clearer, crisper than before. The threads still pull, but you remain in place, flickering in the flow. Between the threads you see bright shapes, caches of shimmering light beneath transparent crystal forms. You follow the path of a thread across the ring, through these forms, and then leap off into the void. You begin to understand. These are nodes and connections, a map of information, of communication. There are so many layers, so many loops, that it seems almost impossible to pass, but you begin to try. Focus on the threads, or focus on the nodes. I think I'm going to focus on the nodes. The nodes are glassy, bright, but in all this flow, the only solid and fixed points. You approach one, a pyramid or a triangle. Dimensions are difficult here. And lean close to it. Inside, shifting layers conceal a tangle of threads in a meeting point of exchange. But before you can glimpse any further, the glass clouds and hardens, cutting you off. The threads and nodes, passages and puzzle boxes, one leads to another. There is so much here, so many answers, so many questions. All you need to do is follow the paths and open the boxes. You look out across this ghost landscape of exchange and see an opportunity. But then that insistent tugging again, pulling at you. You look down again and see two lines, two threads pulling in different directions, as if they were tied around you. The two options here are the first or the second. Let's go with the second thread. The second thread leads in, pulling deep into the station. Your gaze follows it, and this time you see something, a sphere shimmering above a strange angular body. A pulse shoots out from it, passing over you like a torch beam, testing you, tasting you. Now the first. The first thread leads out, away from the station, into the inky black. Someone out there is tracking you, hunting you, following the thread to you. They're in a ship, and the ship is approaching ever closer, with each cycle. You open your eyes. Time is short. Hunted. Someone out there is tracking you, following your trail. It won't be long before they arrive. In fact, it will be 8 cycles according to this clock. Interesting. Let's leave the container. Tutorial, the cloud. Something has changed inside you. You can now access the data cloud of the Eye, a network of decaying protocols and data caches. While there, you can use dice and items to access systems and extract data. But be careful, these networks are old and strange. Click the Eye button at the top of the screen to toggle this view on and off. Here's the Eye button. Oh, and I can kind of see the internet. Oh, how cool is that? Havanage Gate H4. That's when we click that. This gate keeps traffic out of Havanage's shipyard's internal network. The correct cipher can grant you access. Interesting. What's this? Havanage Agent. A Havanage member is broadcasting on the open network from here, leaving them open to data extraction. So, tutorial, data actions. Data actions allow you to extract data from the networks of the Eye. They work like dice actions, but in order to unlock them you must match your dice to the one displayed at the right of the action. If you have a +1 or +2 modifier in the interface skill, you'll be given more possible dice to match. You can use any dice that matches the dice displayed. Once unlocked, the data can be extracted. Oh, so I do have +1 to interface because I picked the operator. So I can match a 3 here, but I don't have a 2 or a 3, so I'll leave that one. Key node 0102. And this one I can do a 1, a 2 or a 3, which I don't have. Okay. This one I can do a 1 or a 3, so let's put the 1 in there. Match input, bypass, extract data. It's not 100% clear to me exactly how this works. I have obviously played it before, but I can't quite remember. So I've got some data, which is kind of like a resource, encrypted key, a stream of passcodes able to unlock the station's aging maglocks. Cool. Well, that's useful. Is there anything I can put this into then? Solheim Gate. So this slot Solheim cipher. This gate conceals a network of systems which have been untouched since the Solheim collapse. I don't know what the Solheim collapse is, but I'm sure we'll find out. I don't think I've got the right data for that, so come out of there. What's this one? This is one to match a dice, so I won't be doing that just yet. What's this one? Havanage Agent. Also a dice match. Keynode. Also a dice match. And then I think that might be more or less it. Yatagan Agent. Another dice match. And that's it. So that's as far as I can do so far. So what we'll do is we'll click the eye. And then we're going to go back to Dragos' yard because I kind of want to complete his mission. So let's input our 6 dice here. Start action. Now I can get his back in business thing sorted, which should be doable with this one. Alright. So we've got a bunch of money. Dragos is back in business apparently. And that's before this debt called in thing is counted down. So let's leave and see what he's got to say for himself. Dragos. So something's come up here. He wants to talk to us. Right. It's probably because we did his job. So, Dragos, you arrive into a buzz of activity at the yard. Red blinking lights flash across a vast dark shape suspended below the dome. They flicker across scorch hull plates and bent structures, spilling from holes in a twisted shape. The cutter is huge and has been torn apart in some violent encounter. She's a beauty, isn't she? Dragos stands to the side, focused on the hulking ship as it's lowered into the yard. I'm going to say she is. She is a beauty. I should thank you. This place was on its last legs when you turned up, and now look at this. The ship descends slowly, its interior visible through multiple hull breaches. You struggle to gather the same enthusiasm as Dragos for this monstrous craft. You can't help but think of what became of its crew. What happened, I'm going to say. What do you mean? He glances at you. I managed to convince our salvager friends to give it to me on credit. That's what happened. No, what happened to the ship? Not my concern, he shrugs. The ship creaks like a calving iceberg as it reaches the base of the yard. Dragos is visibly excited. I know I said you shouldn't stick around, but I'm going to need some help with this one. The drones start to crawl over the hulk, their lights illuminating flashes of dented hull. Watching, you wonder if you arrived in a similar fashion, locked inside that container, the wreck of the Essen-Arp freighter lowered into the yard like a corpse ready to be butchered. Or was the container delivered to Dragos on its own, a womb for your rebirth into this strange station? You shudder. Perhaps if you could learn something about this ship, you might be able to trace the path that led you to this yard. Dragos squeezes your shoulder. After these past cycles, I think we're up to it. What do you think? You see the fading name of the ship emblazoned on its side, Winter Light. I've got 2 options here to say let's do it or stay silent. I'm going to say let's do it. He claps you on the back. Glad to hear it. Come back in a few and we can make a start. A real beauty, Dragos repeats, perhaps just to himself. You take one last look at the shattered ship as the drones start cutting, and then slip out of the yard, feeling suddenly cold in the empty passage. Okay, so I completed a mission. I got a Steam achievement. That's pretty cool. Tutorial, character and upgrades. You completed your first drive. Each drive completed unlocks an upgrade point to spend on upgrading your character. Access your character menu via the arrow button at the top right of the screen. Okay, let's do that now. So here's my character. That's what they look like. So I could spend a point to get rid of this negative thing on my endure skill. What have I got +1 on? Interface, work with digital interfaces. I feel like getting kind of +1 on everything would be good. Oh, I see. So it runs left to right. That's the way it works. So you start on -1 or 0. It runs left to right, and then you kind of build across this way. So if I got this one, I could get Icebreaker. Agent nodes give double data rewards. Or this one I could get Efficient Extractor. Chance to gain random scrap item on engineer actions. Predictive Reasoning. Dice actions display potential positive and negative outcomes. Thrill Seeker. Chance to gain energy after any engage action. These are all good, whereas just getting rid of the minus, I could rather just avoid the interactions that have the minus stat attached to them. So I think I'm going to go for Efficient Extractor. So I get a chance to gain random scrap item on engineer actions. And then the next one is another point which I don't have. Okay, that makes sense to me. So what's going on with the Repay Dragos drive? So it looks like we've got a few options here. So the overriding thing here is Dragos' nerve. Dragos seems increasingly nervous about your presence in the yard. You're not sure he's going to hold his nerve much longer. And then we've got some actions here. So repeatable action, forensic trawl. Investigating the winter light means picking through its systems and structures with care. It won't pay, but it may find answers. Cutter salvage. Shipbreaking is tougher than slicing up loose salvage, but Dragos is happy to pay you a fixed wage if you're up to it. And then the two kind of positive timers I get here is the winter light. The wrecked cutter Dragos has brought into salvage has a history to discover if you're curious, and yard clearance. History or no, this ship is salvage. As Dragos always says, break it down, move it on. So I think when I get some dice, I'll probably do forensic trawl. Or maybe a bit of both of these. And then I want to try and get it done before his nerve breaks. Because then he might like kick me out or something. Cool, okay. We want to go eat, so let's go to the Fungus Shop. Order fungus. Start action. So we've boosted our food to full, so we're full up now, and our fungus fan counter has gone up as well. So once we've done that 2 more times, we'll have some kind of bonus. Now it looks like we're done for the day. There's nothing to really investigate here, so let's go back to the container. Oh yeah, I forgot someone out there is tracking me, aren't they? I'm hunted. Oh no. So we've got 45 money, we've got a full tummy, but we are fading. And we've got some work to get on with for Dragos, which will be a nice way to spend the next day. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there. No, I'll end the cycle and wrap it up there because I don't know exactly where it saves. So let's end the cycle and see what comes up next, and then we'll wrap it up on the start of the next day. Okay, so we're on the next day. We're fading even more. This hunted cycle clock has gone up, but nothing has kind of greeted me. So let's press leave. Aha, container. As you close up, a voice echoes down the corridor towards you. Sleeper, wait up, says the voice. I haven't attributed an accent to it yet because I don't know who it is. Let's turn and talk to them. Fang. Okay, so this guy is a young man. Looks pretty tech coherent. He's got dark skin, kind of an Asian heritage, very thick black hair. and some fingerless gloves on. Fang is coming down the corridor towards you, a wonky grin on his bored face. Let's give him an American accent. And let's try and find one from my bank of American accents. Hey, glad I caught you. I'm going to say, do I know you? He grins. You do now. He puts a hand on your arm. I've seen you hanging around. I just wanted to chat. You staying in that thing? He nods back to the container, shaking his head. Rough. It can be hard to get a start on the eye. He looks away down the passage. What was it old Erlin said? The eye opens for us all? Nice idea, but, well, not always very practical. He glances back at you. We do our best, but it isn't easy. I've got two options here, we or Erlin. Let's say we. You pass together into the main walkway. Havanage, we're all one dysfunctional family. Fang puts an arm around you. I'm not part of the security branch, though. Don't worry, I'm with systems. Havanage. I've got the choice to ask him Havanage or systems. Let's go with Havanage. I saw Havanage in the internet section, so yeah. Think of us as an administrative association for the eye. Depending on who you talk to, we either emerged as a response to or a continuation of Andre Erlin's original union. He smiles. Personally, I avoid the topic. He stops you in the quiet passage. Look, that's not what I'm here to discuss. I've been seeing some unusual network activity and, well, I know a little about you sleepers. I have a small proposition for you. He glances around. But this is not the place for it. I have an office just across the way. Give me a cycle or two to prepare, then when you're settled, stop by. He lowers his voice and gives you a dark look. In truth, I need you. If what they say is true about you sleepers, well, there's work to be done. He pats you on the back, his voice bright and his dark look suddenly gone. Stay clean, sleeper. He walks off down the passageway, raising a hand in farewell. Alright, so the plot thickens. We've met Fang, who is the chirpy, cheery technician pal who wants us to go and hack the network from the looks of things. I don't know exactly where he is. Maybe it's he'll pop up in a couple of cycles, maybe? Excuse me, hiccups. Okay, now I could easily just dive into another day here. Oh, but I've got hiccups. I need to go drink some water, so that's a great place to stop it. Cool. Time since last auto save 29 seconds. All right, yeah, that's cool. So yeah, it auto saves I think when you wake up. So there you go. That's the introduction to Citizen Sleeper. I absolutely love this game. I played it all the way through without all the DLC last year when it was put on Xbox Game Pass. Absolutely loved it. And now that I'm a content creator, I would kind of relishing the opportunity to share it, showcase it, act out all the voices and that kind of thing. I intend to continue it just because it's one for me, this one. It's super fun. If you're enjoying this video, much like I ask on all of my others, please consider leaving me a like. It really helps the channel to grow and it makes me feel good. You can leave comments underneath the video as well, asking any questions about the developer or the game or anything like that, and I'll come and have a conversation with you. I really like that. Also, if you're interested, we have a Discord community which is also themed around a space station called Puck HQ, where we get together and we talk about the games I'm kind of playing, like Stacklands and various other card related things. The link to that Discord is in the video description, so just come on over and say hi if you like. And that's it. So wherever you are in the world, have a lovely morning or afternoon or evening, and I will see you next time on the Eye.